Part 36. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 362. The one who opens countless tribulations. Tao Dao acquiesces. Qin Mu's short statement made Huang feel an indescribable pressure on his heart. Rahua, the ancestor of the tribulations of all the worlds and heavens, is the great Luo Hunyuan. Facing the catastrophes he has said, he cannot escape and has no choice but to enter the tribulations. If you are not careful, you will fall completely, everything will be in vain, leaving you with eternal hatred. And as the creator and initiator of all this, perhaps this so-called immeasurable calamity, in the eyes of that being named Rahua, is just a bit of fun in a long and boring life. It's ridiculous that all sentient beings are in trouble without realizing it. The way of heaven is ruthless, but the way of heaven is affectionate. Measuring the calamity may seem ruthless, but in fact it is affectionate. If for immeasurable calamities, there will be endless living beings in this universe, the fighting will only become more serious. Moreover, the more living beings there are, the more chaotic and difficult it will be to distinguish between heaven and earth. The Tao will be stained, and all Tao will not be revealed, and it will be more difficult to prove the Tao. At that time, all sentient beings will be in a state of confusion, alive and inanimate, just like the walking zombies. Qin Mu said slowly. You have been promoted to the realm of Deluo. You should know that there is no ultimate existence in this world. The ultimate light is darkness. The ultimate evil may be justice. Things will be reversed when they are extreme, and when the Tao is full, there will be losses. If the avenue is functioning flawlessly, it will naturally not allow this to happen. Because the ultimate perfection and the ultimate vitality will eventually turn into the ultimate destruction. All the supreme beings came into the game, just to help the movement of the avenue a little, making this immeasurable catastrophe more straightforward and neat. As for fighting each other with the help of measuring calamities, it can only be regarded as a trivial matter. Qin Mu slowly told. Although there is no hidden meaning in the words, they contain the deepest secrets and the most basic principles hidden in this endless sea of multiverses. Therefore, there is a kind of order between the words. It's like a enlightenment. Although it seems to be of little help to improve one's cultivation level now, it is of immeasurable help to the improvement of one's horizons and the choice of future paths. A sword embryo became Deluo and changed the destiny of all heavens and worlds. Huang smiled bitterly. Even with Qin Mu's explanation, in his opinion, it still felt unreal. But then, Huang's expression turned serious. According to what your Majesty said, all living beings that come into contact with this Deluo sword embryo will be contaminated by that person's aura, even Deluo and Hunyuan are no exception. There was a time when I was the sword master of this Deluo sword embryo. Doesn't it mean that I also have a destiny entanglement with this sword embryo, and my future ending will be the same as that of the dark great Luo immortal emperor? It's nothing more than Huang asking this question. Even Hunyuan beings can't get rid of the influence of that supreme being. They are ignorant until they fall. Not long ago, he was not even Deluo. Faced with the methods of such beings, is there any way to get rid of it? But Qin Mu's next answer surprised Huang. When you first obtained the great Luo sword embryo, you were indeed affected by it and the trajectory of your destiny changed. If things continue like this, what awaits you will naturally be the same ending as that of the dark immortal emperor. But now, you have got rid of the influence of that mysterious power. Like a fish jumping out of the rolling river of fate, it has temporarily escaped the majestic trend. I just don't know what kind of fate you will have when you fall into the river of fate again. After saying that, Qin Mu gave Huang a meaningful look. Escaped from my predetermined fate, could it be that your Majesty took action to help me escape from all this? Huang seemed to have thought of something and asked cautiously. In his opinion, it seemed that this was the only possibility. After all, facing the means of that supreme being, whether it was Deluo or Hunyuan, he couldn't get rid of it. He was not de Lugo in the past, so naturally he couldn't get rid of all this. The only possibility seemed to be that the Lord of Heaven could help him get rid of this influence and escape from the long river of fate. It was indeed me who took action, but it cannot be considered as my action. Qin Mu gave an answer that surprised Huang. After all, my layout was much earlier than that of Rahua. Long before you got the great Lugo sword embryo, it was already imprinted with this deity. In this way, although the de Lugo sword embryo is powerful, it still has to retreat in front of the aura of this deity, and naturally it will not infect you. To be precise, the reason why you can be promoted to de Lugo is because I have chosen the second path for you. Did you choose the second path for me? Wang's whole body was shaken, and he didn't expect this result at all. In his opinion before, he was able to get rid of the influence of this great Lugo sword embryo because the Lord of Heaven later took action to help him get rid of all this. But now according to what the Lord of Heaven said, he did not take action afterward, but before everything happened. Before he got the great Lugo sword embryo, he had already made plans to change his destiny. However, who was the Lord of Heaven? When did you take action to change your destiny? Huang still remembers what the Lord of Heaven just said, that if the acquired beings want to become an innate great person, there are only two ways to go. And he took the second way, so he got something related to the Lord of Heaven and was contaminated by his aura. After thinking about it for a while, Huang couldn't help but shake his head. He still didn't know what kind of item it was. From his childhood until now, although he has obtained many treasures, but none of the treasures seem to have such great power to help him change his destiny against the will of heaven. The original true solution, the map of mountains, rivers, and the country, all kinds of treasures flashed through Wang's heart one after another, but they were once again captured by him. They were rejected one by one. Although those treasures were powerful, they were just acquired qualities and could not help him reach today's height. For a moment, Huang couldn't help but become confused in his heart. What on earth was it? What kind of relationship did he get? Something related to the Lord of Heaven? He was puzzled and eager to know the answer. After some thinking, an idea suddenly flashed in his mind, which suddenly frightened him and made it difficult to maintain a calm mind. Before, he just setting the target on dead objects such as the ultimate treasure of skills completely ignored another possibility. But now it seems that the real result is another possibility that he had never thought of. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 363. Previously, Huang had always focused on the treasures or techniques he had obtained. But after thinking about it, he realized that no matter what treasures or skills he obtained in the past, they could not bear the power to change his destiny. At most, those treasures will only have some use after he reaches the immortal king realm. After that, it is of no use at all. How does it look like this de Lugo sword embryo? Even though he has now reached the realm of de Lugo, he can still exert incomparable magical effects. However, it is precisely because of this that Wang's ideas have always gone astray. It is not until now that he thinks of another possibility. I dare to ask your majesty, if you stay by my side and interfere with the trajectory of my destiny, I am afraid it is not a dead thing. Huang Gong asked with his hands raised. Even though he already had some guesses in his mind, he still wanted to get the most sincere answer from the Lord of Heaven. Of course. Qin Mu nodded slowly, with a hint of approval in his eyes, indicating that he recognized Wang's guess. It is as expected. Huang smiled bitterly. It turns out that since I was born, you have already started to make plans. By now, Huang Cai finally understood everything. It turns out that since he was born in the boundless wilderness of the lower world, the Lord of God has lowered his gaze on him, left it by his side, and changed his future destiny. And the it left behind by the Lord of Heaven is none other than Lu Shen. Willow God. Since Huang was born in the wilderness, He has been by his side. He has been trained in him since his childhood. He is the guide and forerunner on the path of spiritual practice, and he is also a monument in his mind in the past. It can be said that if there were no Lu Shen, there would be no current famine. Huang's ability to achieve today's results is inseparable from the relationship between Lu Shen. It's just that Huang never thought of it. The unrivaled Lu Shen turned out to be a transcendent being whom the Lord of Heaven deliberately stayed by his side to help him transcend the realm of Deluo. In the past, when I was traveling across the endless universe, I picked up the seed in a universe that was about to die. I injected a trace of supreme power into the seed and threw it into this universe. You were not born yet at that time, but your future destiny has already been entangled with her, making it difficult to separate. However, she was thrown into this world by the deity when she was still a seed. It was because her intelligence was not yet developed and she was chaotic and ignorant, so naturally she would not know the existence of the deity. Qin. Mu said with a smile. It turned out to be like this. Huang smiled bitterly. He really didn't expect that the person who was both a teacher and a friend to him would actually be shaped by the Lord of Heaven. And his ability to achieve today's Deluo realm is closely related to Lu Shen and has a great relationship. It turns out that Lu Shen is the key factor that helps him transcend. Outside the ancient picture, King Xianmo and other kings of the immortal realm were dumbfounded and even more shocked to the extreme. They really never thought of it. Behind everything, there is still such a secret. Not only the achievements of the Dark Immortal Emperor are due to this great Luo sword embryo. Even Huang, who used to be arbitrary for eternity, was able to achieve the realm of Deluo, all thanks to the guidance and training of the Lord of Heaven. It turns out that all inborn beings can only take these two paths if they want to achieve Deluo. By yourself alone, you have no chance of becoming a great Luo. Either be favored by the great avenue, or be chosen by the Supreme Being. Otherwise, just like the fish in the river, no matter how high it jumps, it will never be able to get rid of the fate of being in the river until old age and death. It will never be able to escape from the river of destiny. However, despite being shocked, King Xian and others couldn't help but feel a touch of despair. Before, they had thought that through hard work, they could change their destiny, eventually become Deluo and stop the disasters of the heavens. But now it seems that with their destiny set, they cannot achieve success at all. After all, according to what the Lord of Heaven said, there are only two ways for acquired beings to achieve their innate status. The first is the blessing of the Great Road, and the second is the object of obtaining the Supreme Being and cultivating it with the power of the mind. But they have neither. If this is the case, doesn't it mean that they are destined to have no possibility of becoming Deluo? In this way, wouldn't they have no ability to resist this disaster in all the worlds no matter what? This is undoubtedly a despairing conclusion. No matter how hard they struggled and tried, they were still like an insignificant little fish in the vast river. Even though I jumped up from the river for a moment, I saw a wider world and escaped from the existing destiny for a moment. But in the end, they still have to fall into this vast river, and there is no way to change the final fate. This vast and endless river is where the destiny of all human beings lies. And all the creatures within the river are all acquired sentient beings in this endless and infinite multiverse. Except for the beings above the Deluo realm, they have been freed from this long river, able to leap from fish to dragon, and watch with cold eyes on the bank the hundreds of millions of creatures still struggling in this long river of time. In addition, all the acquired creatures are destined to be unable to escape from all this and will perish in this long river of fate forever. Unless someone from the shore takes action and fishes a fish out of the river, the destined fate can be changed. At this moment, King Xian and the others suddenly felt as if they could not breathe. They seemed to feel that there was an invisible big hand driving the development of everything in this infinite universe. All the joys and sorrows of acquired beings are just a small part of these long years, even so small that they can be ignored. And that being who transcends the great way and reigns supreme is like an omniscient and omnipotent God, either influencing or watching the development of all things in this world. Even if he is as noble as an immortal king, he is no different from other acquired beings. Perhaps, in the eyes of supreme beings like the Lord of Heaven, their existence is like a weed on the roadside, it is nothing at all and will not attract the attention of others. What is the so-called possibility, what is the so-called future? Everything is fake. Everything is just a lie. The fate of all living beings has been determined at the moment of birth. No matter what you do or don't do, your ultimate fate will not make the slightest difference. Just as when the cause arrives, the effect has already fallen. What a cruel truth this is. Please subscribe, please customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 364. If someone tells you that your life's destiny has been determined as early as the time you were born, no matter what you do or don't do in this life, the established destiny trajectory will not change at all. Whatever you achieve is already determined. The realm you have reached has also been determined. Nothing is unknown, everything is a predetermined outcome, and all are answers that have been displayed before your supreme eyes. They are omniscient and omnipotent, know everything, and see through everything. In the endless heavens and billions of universes, everything, even the fate of all living beings, is nothing new to them. What would you do if you knew all this? If they had known all this before, King Xian Mo, King Gu, and other immortal kings of the immortal realm would definitely not believe it. Who are they? The true pride of heaven, the master of an era, the beloved existence of heaven and earth. Be confident all your life that you are invincible, defeat the masters from all over the world, do not believe in heaven or earth, only believe in yourself, and only respect yourself as invincible. Naturally, they will not believe in the assertion that cause and effect are determined. Their existence is to break fate, break cause and effect, and control everything about themselves. This is who they were in the past, confident and flamboyant, only respecting themselves and being invincible. However, now, King Xian and others no longer have such views. They are no longer confident that they are invincible, because they know that there are more powerful beings than them in all the heavens and worlds. Perhaps, in the eyes of those beings, their actions are as ridiculous as an ant baring its teeth and claws towards the vast sky. Is the fate of all acquired creatures predetermined? Huang smiled bitterly, feeling that there seemed to be an invisible giant net in the world, covering the heads of all living things, making it difficult for them to escape. It was like a puppet pulled by a thread, and could only follow the established trajectory. Move forward, heavy and desperate. Not really. Qin Mu shook his head slightly. The determined destiny is actually a kind of protection for all living beings. But there is only one time when the fate of all living beings in this endless sea of multiverses will be obscured. The secrets of heaven are not revealed, and chaos is difficult to distinguish. Even the supreme beings can no longer see through the fate of many creatures on the river of destiny. That moment is when immeasurable calamity comes. The immeasurable calamity is coming, and all living beings in the heavens and worlds will be involved. Except for the supreme beings, no one can escape, and they will all enter this immeasurable calamity. Whether it is an acquired being or an innate being, the trajectory of destiny will be obscured. At the same time, their fate is no longer certain, but is changing at any time with the changes of countless calamities. Only then will the inborn beings escape from their predetermined fate and have the opportunity to become dragons. What does your Majesty mean by this, is that when immeasurable tribulations come, the acquired beings, even if they do not take the first two paths, will be able to transcend and achieve the position of Delugo. Huang seemed to have thought of something and asked quickly. Yes. Qin Mu nodded and said. However, if there are living beings who become Delugo, there will also be living beings who perish accordingly. Countless killings and calamities arose, and even if someone could achieve Delugo, it would be accompanied by endless blood and endless killing. Billions of future beings have fallen, and tens of millions of universes have been destroyed. Only then can we create a great being that transcends the long river of destiny. It seems that only when this immeasurable calamity arises is the only chance for the incarnated beings. Huang Ruo said thoughtfully. Countless killings and calamities cannot be tolerated, and the fate of all incarnated creatures in the universe is predetermined. Unless you can get the blessing of the Great Road, or get something that the Supreme Being uses your mind to sacrifice, otherwise you are destined to be unable to transcend, and in the end you can only return to dust, and dust to dust. But now, because of the existence of immeasurable calamities, sentient beings have a third path to transcendence. However, this road is extremely difficult and extremely long. After endless years, there will be an immeasurable killing and calamity sweeping across the world. Only at this time, under the Great Road, the fate of all living beings will be obscured, and they will be indistinguishable from chaos, and they will have the qualifications to escape. However, wanting to transcend is probably not that simple. I am afraid that more creatures will end up in this unparalleled disaster, turning into ashes and dying sadly. The innate souls who can truly achieve Delugo are probably only a handful. Every creature that rises like this is probably made up of the blood and bones of countless creatures. I don't know, when will the immeasurable killings and calamities begin? Huang asked. This question is not asked for him, but for all the sentient beings in the universe. Strictly speaking, this immeasurable tribulation has already begun. Qin Mu said, and in his calm words, he revealed this shocking news. The great Loto sword embryo is the beginning of this immeasurable killing calamity. When it comes to the endless universe, it is when the immeasurable tribulation officially begins. And when Rahu comes and all the Supremes end their lives one after another, this will be the time when this killing calamity is at its most intense. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 365. The immeasurable killing calamity sweeps across the heavens, and no one in the world can escape. As Qin Mu slowly stated, a magnificent picture scroll slowly unfolded in front of Wang's eyes. Only then did he realize it. Even though he has been promoted to Delugo, he still looks so weak in front of the endless powerful men in this vast world. Among the heavens, within the universe. Apart from beings in the supreme realm like the Lord of Heaven, who else can truly control their own destiny? It is as noble as Delugo and Hunyuan. There is a possibility that they will turn into ashes and never return forever. The immeasurable killing calamity has already begun. Wang's heart felt heavy. That Delugo sword embryo seemed to have turned into the source of all disasters. Moreover, this disaster did not only affect this world. As time spreads, these billions of worlds, countless heavens will be involved in the flames of war. Countless killings and calamities will occur, and no living beings can escape. I just don't know how long an immeasurable tribulation will last. Huang asked. He wanted to know how long he had left. Countless killings and calamities arose, and Huang didn't want anything else. He just wanted to be able to protect the world where he was born and raised, and to be able to survive in this majestic and dangerous world. Survive the world war. The onset of each immeasurable kalpa is uncertain, and its ending is uncertain. Sometimes an immeasurable tribulation only lasts for millions of years, but sometimes an immeasurable tribulation lasts for countless chaotic years. But one thing is certain, the longer the immeasurable calamity lasts, the stronger the power of this calamity will be. In the end, all living beings in the infinite universe will be unable to escape the influence of countless calamities. It's just that there is no way of knowing who will turn into a dragon and who will turn into dust in the end. Qin Mu replied slowly, giving an uncertain answer. The time is not certain. Huang murmured to himself, a hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Originally, he wanted to know how long the immeasurable calamity would last, so that he could judge how long he had to protect the heavens and realms. But now, everything has become uncertain. I don't know what role your majesty wants me to play in this immeasurable calamity after you have chosen me. Huang looked up to the Lord of Heaven and said calmly. Since this Lord of Heaven sent Lu Shen to achieve his position as Deluo, he must have met his end in this immeasurable calamity. And he should be like this, a chess piece chosen by the Lord of Heaven. As a chess piece, Huang didn't have any other thoughts. He just wanted to know what the Lord of Heaven wanted him to do. Ha ha ha. However, when faced with Huang's question, Qin Mu laughed heartily and said, "You are my pawn, but you are not. I always play chess without any worries. Just do whatever you want. Strictly speaking, you are just a chess piece that falls on this tribulation and killing board at my whim. For you, though, that's only a good thing." When the immeasurable calamity arose, no soul in the world could escape, not even De Luo Hunyuan was an exception, and would all fall into calamity. At this time, if there is a supreme helper behind you, the chance of survival will naturally be greatly improved. However, several other old guys have a bunch of disciples and grandchildren who need to be taken care of, but I have no scruples. You are my first piece on this chessboard. You don't need to care about what exactly I need you to do. Just follow your own destiny. However, this Rahu ignores the rules and dares to let you be contaminated by the person who has been chosen by me. If this is the case, then he will be punished with a small punishment and a big warning. Qin Mu slowly shook his head. With a snap of his fingers, the large sword embryo flew in front of him. As if he knew what fate he was about to face, the sword embryo trembled fiercely, as if begging Qin Mu for mercy. Generally speaking, there is also the aura of immeasurable chaos caves and immeasurable calamities emanating from it. If it is allowed to spread out, I am afraid that as long as the heavens and worlds are contaminated by a trace of this aura, they will not be far from falling. However, in front of Qin Mu, all these breaths are like illusion. Clang. A clear groan. Something happened that stunned Huang. This object that opened up countless tribulations, the great Luo sword embryo, was broken into two pieces with just a flick by Qin Mu. Qin Mu threw out half of the sword embryo and suppressed the rest at the bottom of the ocean. In Huang's unbelievable eyes, the sound shook the world and seemed to reach the deepest part of the infinite heavens. Contaminated with the layout of this deity, small punishments and big admonitions will suppress the sword embryo for tens of millions of years, and this calamity will be postponed for tens of millions of years before starting again. Do you have any objections? Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 366. This calamity will be postponed for tens of millions of years before it starts again. Do you have any objections? Qin Mu's voice was indifferent, but it seemed to be carried by all the ways, spreading throughout all the worlds and heavens, and being heard by every supreme being. How domineering this is! Previously, through the Lord of Heaven's description, in Wang's heart, Rahu could definitely be called a supreme and unparalleled existence. However, now, the Lord of Heaven has openly spoken, intending to delay the start of countless calamities for tens of millions of years. Use your own strength to fight against the overwhelming trend of the boundless universe. Huang Zhen has never even thought about such a scene. Ken. 10,000 ways shook, and a voice that was indifferent and distant, like the way of heaven, sounded as if from the depths of the eternal chaos in the endless heavens. In a trance, Huang seemed to see a tower that stretched across the endless universe and encompassed billions of realms in the heavens. Ancient Heavenly Palace. In the Heavenly Palace, an endlessly brilliant emperor nodded. He sat at the highest center of the Heavenly Palace, wearing 10,000 dragon robes and a crown on his head. He looked slightly sideways, and the world was high universally, and all the heavens will be illuminated by it. Since fellow Taoists want this, then so be it. Another voice sounded from the endless sky. A Taoist palace stood across the ancient times. A white-haired old Taoist wearing a Taoist robe with a peaceful appearance, holding a whisk in his hand, was meditating. Although he just sitting there simply, but in Wang's eyes, it was as if the infinite avenue was born. Just one glance, and it was the manifestation of the infinite avenue. Even though he was Deluo, when he saw this old man at the first glance, Huang Yi felt a sense of insignificance. It was as if he was facing the real source of the great avenue of all heavens and worlds. Like the Taoist ancestor, lying in the nine heavens. In this way, it is interesting. A calm voice that contained the meaning of boundless annihilation was accompanied by a crisp sound of swords. In a trance, Huang seemed to see that in the deepest part of the infinite world, the place where the eternal chaos originated, there is a stalwart figure with disheveled black hair and four swords spread out in front of him. With one sword strike, billions of worlds are born and destroyed. Creation, cause and effect, chaos, destiny, everything is at that point. Under the sword, everything will turn into the most complete nothingness and dissipate. Nothing is impossible. Another voice with endless majesty in the calm sounded. It was a majestic figure wearing Taoist robes, sitting cross-legged in the endless high sky. Endless majesty, endless splendor. A three-handle wrapped with golden flowers, blue waves, and purple clouds. The precious jade is as desired, hanging above his head, sorting out the secrets of heaven, and evolving the infinite changes of the great road. If fellow Taoist opens his mouth, of course he can. I have no opinion. Good. One voice after another sounded from everywhere in the boundless heavens, stirring up thousands of ways, turning into the supreme voice, shaking the vast sky. That was the voice of a supreme being in the heavens who towered over Hunyuan. And no one objected to the Lord of Heaven delaying the start of the catastrophe. This scene left Huang stunned. Not only Huang, but besides the ancient scene, King Xianmo and others were even more shocked. Even the black rotten the wooden box trembled endlessly, showing the restlessness in the soul of the immortal emperor. Damn it, infinite heavenly Lord, is this the Lord of Heaven? Duan Yun's hung swallowed, and his fat body trembled. Before, he had only heard of the reputation of the Lord of Heaven. But he didn't have a specific idea of how powerful the other party was. But now, he knows. This is the Lord of Heaven. With one word, no one in the heavens can refute. Even if it is sweeping through the heavens and all realms, and the immeasurable calamity approved by the Deo. It must be delayed for thousands of years with the other party's words. The tribulation will begin again after 10,000 years. How supreme and domineering this is. This is the Lord of God. King Xian smiled bitterly, with unparalleled awe in his voice. What is supreme? This is the true supreme. The boundless heavens and the infinite universe will all move according to my will. Even if it is a so-called immeasurable calamity that is difficult to violate, if I am unhappy, I will delay the calamity for tens of millions of years before starting the calamity again. In the whole world, no living being can oppose it. You must know that even beings as noble as Deluo and Hunyuan will be forced into disaster. Life and death are difficult to control and cannot be left to their own devices. But what about this Lord of Heaven? Even the opening of this immeasurable calamity can be controlled by it. And among all the supreme beings, no one refutes. This is truly boundless domination and true supremacy among the heavens. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 367. The Lord of Heaven spoke tyrannically, delaying the immeasurable tribulation for tens of millions of years before starting again, which shocked Huang and others incomparably. After a long time, Huang slowly breathed a sigh of relief, with a wry smile on his face. This is the Lord of heaven, who can decide everything in the heavens and the world with one word. Even the supreme ones and the supreme road must give in. If he had such a level of cultivation, why would he still be trapped by all this? The burden of all worlds is on his shoulders, but he is struggling. If he is not careful, he will lose everything. If he could have the cultivation level of the Lord of God, why would he be like this? However, everything is determined. Although he cannot truly dominate everything and eliminate all suffering now, after all, there is still a road ahead and he can still see the existence of light. The Lord of Heaven said that he would be relieved of calamity for tens of millions of years before reopening. This undoubtedly bought him precious time. In tens of millions of years, who knows how far he can go? Perhaps, after tens of millions of years, even the mysterious Hunyuan existence will no longer be his opponent. At that time, all the disasters in the world will naturally be solved. I have suppressed the sword embryo for tens of millions of years, and the half-sword embryo containing the spirituality given by Rahu has flown back on its own. When the half-sword embryo returns tens of millions of years later, it will be the time when countless tribulations will arise again. Qin Mu looked at Huang and smiled calmly. At this moment, the half-handled great Luo sword embryo had been completely suppressed by him into the sea of 10,000 realms at his feet. All auras were restrained and hidden, and there was no more fluctuation. Thank you for this, Your Majesty. If Your Majesty had not taken action, the creatures in all the heavens and worlds would have no idea what kind of ending awaits them. Huang cupped his hands and thanked him, his words full of sincerity. He knew that for the Supreme Lord in front of him, doing all this might be just a piece of work, or even nothing. It just depends on his mood. But for in terms of all the heavens and all the worlds, it indirectly changed the fate of all living beings. One inadvertent action saved all the living beings in all the heavens and all the worlds. It can be called a supreme merit. Haha, countless calamities can be opened from anywhere. But Narahu clearly knows that this deity has come to this world, and still wants to use this world as the beginning of this immeasurable calamity. Such behavior is indeed a small punishment but a big warning, so you don't need to care. Qin Mu said calmly. Outside the ancient picture. For some reason, after seeing this scene, Xian Wang and others all looked relaxed, and even secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, when he looked at the half-handled great Luo sword embryo hanging in front of him, his eyes were filled with complex meanings. It turns out that all the disputes and disasters were caused by this Luo sword embryo. It is the source of disaster that brings disaster to all the worlds. The Dark Immortal Emperor fell because of him, and the Dark Realm was formed because of him. All the turmoil in the world has his shadow behind it. In fact, even the Supreme Hunyuan was unknowingly affected by the sword embryo. But luckily, with the Lord of Heaven's action, the great Luo sword embryo broke. The immeasurable calamity will also be postponed for tens of millions of years before it begins again. In this way, we have bought a rare and precious time for the creatures in the heavens and the world. However, after tens of millions of years, if you calculate it, there may not be much left now. King Mo sighed. Above the picture is the scene of the past traced back by the immortal emperor's soul. It is at least millions of years old. In fact, it is very likely that the time limit is approaching. This half of the scene in front of you, the broken Luo sword embryo, is like an ominous sign. No one knows when the disaster caused by it will come. Infinite Heavenly Lord is so humming dangerous. After witnessing all this, Duan Yun's Hung only felt cold all over his body. For the first time, he felt that he was so close to danger. It turns out that this ancient sword embryo has so many stories. Immortal Emperor, Luo, Hunyuan, no matter how powerful the creatures are, it is difficult to avoid being affected by it and suffer bad luck. The only exception is Huang. Because of the layout arranged by the Lord of Heaven on him, even the power of disaster cannot infect him. However, others are not so lucky. If you accidentally get contaminated with this sword embryo, you may die in the end without even knowing how you died. So close. So close. At this time, Duan Yunzheng regretted extremely. Why didn't I listen to the words of the immortal emperor's soul earlier and simply throw the sword embryo into the sea of 10,000 realms? Why take it out and reappear in the world? One drink and one peck are all determined. In the past, the Lord of Heaven suppressed the sword embryo in the sea of all realms. For countless years, this sword embryo has never appeared in the world. Now he has been dug out by himself and reappeared in the world. Doesn't this mean that the time limit for the restart of the immeasurable tribulation mentioned by the Lord of Heaven is coming soon? When he thought of this, Duan Yunzheng felt that his intestines were about to turn green. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 368. After the Delugo sword embryo was dormant for endless years, it was reborn. Doesn't this mean that the moment of immeasurable calamity is coming? When I thought about this, I also thought about the fact that I had just come into contact with the Delugo sword embryo. Duan Yunzheng felt frightened. I hope that this Delugo sword embryo, which was once broken by the Lord of Heaven, has not recovered its function yet. Otherwise, he will be in trouble. There is no need to worry too much. Those who can be affected by the great Lugo sword embryo are entities that can stir up the world and change the fate of the heavens. Your cultivation is low and your talent is not good, so you should not be able to cause the reaction of the sword embryo. The black rotten wooden box rumbled, and the voice of the immortal emperor's soul came from it. Although it seemed to be comforting, it was a bit harsh in Duan Yunzheng's ears. What this said didn't mean that his cultivation level was too low to even order this great person. Isn't Luo Jianfei interested at all? However, after mocking Duan Yunzheng, the voice of the immortal emperor's soul became hoarse and sighed again. I just guessed that everything was vaguely related to the sword embryo, but I never thought that there was such a grand situation behind it. The heavens, all spirits, everything is within the game. Everything is just a chess piece on the chessboard, even the Hunyuan is no exception. It's so sad and ridiculous. The voice of the immortal emperor's soul is full of inexplicable flavor. After all, who would have thought that someone who has reached his level of cultivation would be able to dominate? But who knows, in the eyes of others, he is still an ant. Eternal breath flow, the picture slowly fluctuates, everything is still going on. So what does it have to do with God? I don't know, and your majesty. After seeing Qin Mu's incarnation as the Lord of Heaven, suppressing the half-broken great Luo sword embryo at the bottom of the ocean, Huang couldn't help but ask. Before, Qin Mu had revealed to him the existence of the heaven. Today's Huang is in the period when he defeated the Dark Immortal Emperor, but did not go to the heaven, and still remains in the world. However, Huang is very curious about the mysterious heaven. Above God, Lord of God. There is no doubt that there must be some special connection between the two. The Taoist ancestors of the heavens, in this endless world, will all sit in one of the boundless worlds. Above this heaven is the world where I sit. Qin Mu slowly spoke, revealing to Huang a true secret of the heavens. Do you know why the Supreme Being still sits in one world? Qin Mu asked with a smile. I really don't know. Huang shook his head and smiled bitterly. He really didn't know. Because in his opinion, an existence like Dao ancestor has transcended everything. In this boundless world of heaven and earth, there should be nothing more to ask for. That's all. Even this immeasurable calamity that affects hundreds of millions of the world and countless sentient beings is just a game in the eyes of these supreme beings. In this way, how can there be any such thing as these supreme beings in this universe? What do you care about? Therefore, why the Taoist ancestors from all sides would sit in one world, Huang really can't think of it. As the Taoist ancestor, he is in charge of the Great Road and is transcendent from everything, but he is not without desires and desires. Qin. Mu said calmly. Continuously becoming stronger is engraved in the bones of all monks. Even if the Dao ancestor has transcended everything, he can still continue to become stronger. It's just that this kind of power is no longer enough to be known to the acquired creatures. Not to mention reaching the realm of Daozu. In fact, as long as the creatures reach the realm above Daluo, they will all choose to sit in one world and hold the authority of heaven. Once your cultivation has reached the realm of Daluo, ordinary cultivation has little meaning. Because only by controlling a world can one realize the changes in one realm, 10,000 ways, and all kinds of things. More importantly, beings above Daluo can understand the thoughts of all living beings in the world. The sparks of thought created by the collision of billions of acquired sentient beings are what the strong need most. Life is the greatest miracle in the world, and it is also the most sacred creation in this boundless universe. The avenue breeds life, but every creature is a unique individual, regardless of whether he is powerful or not. His thoughts, and ideas are naturally irreplaceable. Sitting in a world, you can experience the sparks of the collision of the minds of billions of endless creatures in that world, and use this to promote your own practice. Now, do you feel like you are getting stronger all the time? This is the result of hundreds of millions of sentient beings working together to promote you. The more powerful the world is, the stronger the collective thinking power of all living beings will be. Correspondingly, the powerful people who control this world will be able to gain greater rewards. This is the reason why the strongest people in all realms in this boundless universe want to control one realm, or even many realms. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 369. It turned out to be like this. Wang's face showed a look of surprise. The reason had never occurred to him before. Beings above the Daluo realm control a world in order to absorb the power of the collision of thoughts of all living beings, gain more insights from them, and promote the growth of their own cultivation. This method is the main practice method for those in Daluo and Hunyuan realms. Qin. Mu said slowly. However, for a supreme being who controls a world, even if he can realize all of this, the gains are still beyond his reach. However, you all have nothing to ask for in this era. A little accumulation is better than nothing. In this era, what is the meaning of this statement? Huang Yi was startled, and he keenly captured the key point in the Lord of Heaven's words. What does this era mean? All things in heaven and earth have their end of life. This endless infinite multiverse is naturally no exception. Qin Mu put his hands behind his hands and said calmly. In every infinite multiverse, there will be catastrophes. And looking at the multiverse, there will be calamities sweeping across many universes. If we look at the vaster and infinite multiverse, there will be countless calamities. Infinite tribulations will affect hundreds of millions of infinite universes, and almost all living beings will be caught in the influence of these tribulations and will be unable to extricate themselves. Even if the Taoist ancestors exist, they will inevitably have to enter this immeasurable tribulation, and have a fight with each other to eliminate the old grudges. However, this kind of competition is just a matter of time. However, immeasurable calamities are not the greatest disaster faced by all sentient beings. The endless movement of the universe, even this endless infinite multiverse, will also have its own end. At that time, the entire universe will collapse, and no universe will be spared. All living beings, whether they are acquired beings or Daluo Hunyuan, will have difficulty escaping and will perish as the world collapses. The only one who can escape from this difficulty is the existence of the Dao ancestor realm that transcends the great Dao. After the collapse of the infinite universe, after endless years, chaos will reappear, and a new universe will be generated again. This is a new era. The newborn universe is in its most complete state, and most of the existences that can transcend Hunyuan and become Taoist ancestors have made breakthroughs during this period. Afterwards, after countless catastrophes, the new universe will collapse and turn into countless heavens and infinite realms. This is the prototype of the endless sea of infinite multiverses. Then, after hundreds of millions of chaotic years of evolution, the new era will reach its peak, and billions of creatures will be born and appear, just like at this moment in this era. And then, the cycle starts over again, the endless sea of multiverses collapses again, a new era evolves again, and everything is a new beginning. The endless ocean of multiverses will one day collapse. By then, neither De Luo nor Hunyuan will be able to escape. Hearing this, Wang's tone was full of disbelief. At this moment, he felt that his worldview had been unimaginably impacted. In nature, how can there be any eternal existence between heaven and earth? Not even the Great Road can do it. Not to mention De Luo and Hunyuan. Even the Tao ancestor who transcends the Great Dao is unlikely to fall. Qin. Mu said calmly, revealing a piece of news that shocked Huang. Dao ancestor, isn't he already a transcendent, boundless existence? How could he still fall? Huang said in disbelief. Daozu. It is above the avenue of transcendence, but it is only the avenue of the current era. When the heavens and the universe collapse, chaos will reappear in heaven and earth, nirvana will occur, and earth, fire, and feng shui will reappear. The Tao of the next era will be more perfect and complete than the previous era. This is the result deduced by the Tao ancestors. Moreover, the supreme beings who are born in the next era and transcend the Great Road will be stronger than the transcendent people in the previous era. Similarly, the difficulty of detachment will be higher. However, once transcended, it is truly superior to other supreme beings. All Taoist ancestors are truly supreme beings in their respective eras, so how could they be willing to be subordinate to others? Therefore, at the beginning of the evolution of the new era, there will be Taoist ancestors who choose to re-enter reincarnation and fight for the Tao with those in the new era who are expected to transcend. If you win, the Tao will be more perfect, but if you fail, the fruits of the Tao will be obtained by others, and the endless years of hard work will all turn into water. Of course, after transcendence, as long as he no longer thinks about getting stronger, compared to all living beings, Dao ancestor is still an existence that is unparalleled and transcendent, and difficult to reach. Qin. Mu said lightly. Of course, according to the deductions of the Taoist ancestors, this endless universe has experienced the accumulation and evolution of 4 great eras. At most, there will be one more evolution, and the great path, and fruit will truly evolve to perfection. At that time, the eternal era will be established, and everything will be in a state of perfection. This era is the eternal era. However, in this era, the eternal and immortal Taoist fruit can only be obtained by one person. All the powerful people born in the first 8 eras and the last era will compete for this only eternal era Dao fruit. Even the supreme Taoist ancestors would not be able to avoid experiencing a life and death struggle. Fight for this only eternal era Dao fruit and achieve the true supremacy. Please subscribe and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 370. In the 5 ages of the heavens, there is the supreme path and fruit. It turns out that even the eternal avenue will collapse. It turns out that these ancient heavens will all end in destruction sooner or later. At that time, no matter whether they are countless acquired sentient beings or innate beings who have achieved greatness, they will not be able to escape the final end of destruction. Only the supreme existence that has transcended from the Great Road can avoid this catastrophe that is far greater than immeasurable calamities. In the re-evolution of the next era, even the supreme being may lose its supreme position. If you want to be eternally supreme and superior to all living things, you can only enter reincarnation in every era. Be transcendent in every era and be above the Great Road. In this way, we can surpass everything in the final era and win the eternal Dao fruit of the last era. All spirits in the world are fighting for survival, and it turns out that even Dao ancestor is no exception. Huang sighed, and for the first time he felt a sense of powerlessness. The world is really too vast, and the path of cultivation will never end. Not only all the living beings in the day after tomorrow are struggling to survive. It is as noble as De Luo, such as Hunyuan, those who have transcended destiny and achieved their own eternal existence, cannot control their own destiny during countless tribulations, and have to drift with the tide, and may even be in danger of falling. Even those who are transcendent on the great road will never be able to control their own destiny. The supreme Taoist ancestors who have been destroyed also have something to ask for. However, what they want is too lofty and far away, and it is too ethereal. Not to mention beings born after birth, even De Luo Hunyuan has difficulty understanding it and cannot see them. Everything he pursues. All living beings are suffering. All living beings are seeking. All living beings are crossing. At this moment, Huang seems to have a sense of enlightenment, like an enlightenment, and the whole person seems to be in an epiphany. This boundless world in the heavens and worlds, all sentient beings, all collisions of thoughts, all sparks of thought, burst out at this moment, and were perceived by Huang. It turned into an extremely peculiar experience, perfecting his Tao and his Dharma. The realm of cultivation, in an instant, there was an unimaginable huge improvement. Not bad, not bad. Qin Mu smiled and nodded, seeming to be very satisfied with Huang's enlightenment. In fact, for the creatures who have reached the realm of De Luo, practice has no meaning anymore. After reaching the realm of De Luo, what is more important is, it is the power of the soul. What is more important is the understanding and application of the Tao of the heavens and the world. The most critical reason why Qin Mu's words caused Huang to break through the realm is because he had helped Huang broaden his horizons and allowed him to witness more. Summer insects cannot speak of ice. The realm and status of a living being determine the scenery he can see. An ant will never think of looking up at the sky, but only seeing the familiar world in front of it. Its vision and vision are locked, and its achievements in life are naturally limited. But now, Qin Mu has spread everything in the world for Huang, making him aware of the existence of countless tribulations. He knows the supreme existence of the heavens, and even lets him know the truth about the change of eras and the collapse of the world. All of this is equivalent to broadening the horizons for Huang and breaking the old cognition. This improvement in cognition, for the growth of living beings, it is the most critical. Vision determines a person's achievement. This is not only true for acquired creatures, but also for innate creatures. Knowing so many secrets of the heavens, Huang's vision is naturally completely different from before. Vision and the improvement in structure, coupled with the collision of thoughts of countless creatures in the world, naturally resulted in an improvement in strength. This is also the difference between innate creatures and acquired creatures. After a long time, Huang finally emerged from this. He came out of this mysterious state. He breathed a long sigh of relief, bowed his head respectfully to Qin Mu and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Huang is very smart and naturally knows that the huge improvement in his strength at this moment is the result of the instructions of the Lord of Heaven in front of him. If it were not for the other party, let alone his current strength, I am afraid that he would not even be able to achieve De Luo's current strength. Neither can be achieved. The guidance of this deity is important, but your own talent is also indispensable. If you are dull in talent, you will not get guidance from me. Qin Mu nodded and smiled. Your Majesty, there is one more thing. I wonder if Your Majesty can help me clear up my doubts. Huang took a deep breath and asked. I don't know why Your Majesty chose me. This question has troubled Huang for a long time. He doesn't understand why the Lord of God chose him to be his chess piece on this chessboard. Moreover, the other party's attitude towards him has obviously exceeded that of a chess piece. If he is a chess piece, there is no need for the other party to tell him about things related to the 5 epochs. It is enough to just tell him about things related to immeasurable tribulations. But now, the other party has even told himself about the deepest secrets of all the worlds. This everything, why? Please customize. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 371. In all the heavens and in all realms, there are billions of inborn beings as numerous as the sands of the Ganges river. Why did this Lord of God choose me? And telling himself many secrets seems to have exceeded the definition of a chess piece. Huang was puzzled and didn't know why all this was happening, so he wanted to ask Qin Mu to help him solve his doubts. There is a reason for choosing you. Qin Mu glanced at Huang and said calmly. The 5 ages of heaven and earth are now in the 4th age. In every era, there are living beings who bear the destiny of that era. This destiny is the so-called general trend. No one can see through this general trend, because it is a gift from the Great Avenue, hidden in the bodies of the creatures born in this era. Even the Taoist ancestors cannot see through it. And the creatures of this era who are burdened with destiny will one day grow up and make waves in the animation world. In the end, all those who can transcend within the endless universe are all beings who have been gifted by the Great Avenue and bear the great power. Choosing you can be seen as a bet. I bet that you are the one who bears the destiny in this era. In fact, in the endless infinite multiverse, all Taoist ancestors will bet on the creatures they guess, and you are not the only one who is so special. Qin Mu opened his mouth and told Huang everything without any hesitation. Then I don't know what your majesty is asking for when you place your bet on me. Huang asked bluntly. He knew very well that the reason why the Lord of Heaven bet on him was not just because of his cultivation value. Even if he was really as he said, he was a living being with the destiny of this era. The same is true. Beings like the Lord of Heaven, since they choose to bet on cultivating themselves, they must have something they want. However, Huang is not angry about this. In this endless and infinite universe, even Hunyuan existences he must not become a chess piece in the hands of the Supreme Masters. He is very satisfied to be cultivated and cultivated by the Lord of Heaven. Since he is a chess piece, he must have the consciousness of being a chess piece. In this world, being used and cultivated by others is very important. It's not scary. What's scary is that it's not even worth being used by others. I have chosen you and placed my bet on you, so naturally I have something to tell you to do. Qin Mu nodded and said, his voice gradually became ethereal, and his body slowly became fainter. However, your cultivation level is too low now, and it is meaningless to tell you this matter. On the contrary, it will only increase many incidents. When your cultivation reaches the peak of Hunyuan and you are close to transcendence, I will naturally tell you what I want to tell you. In this case, Na Wang will wait for your majesty's instructions. Huang cupped his hands in the direction where Qin Mu disappeared and left. The Lord of Heaven's answer did not surprise him. After all, although he is a great Luo now, his level of cultivation is really difficult in front of the Lord of Heaven. It doesn't count. Since the other party intends to train himself, the task he wants to entrust to him is probably not something he can complete at this moment. Since the Lord of God does not intend to tell himself the task to be completed at this moment, what Huang can do, I can only continue to wait quietly. The world has been settled, but the future troubles have not yet been resolved. Huang Wang looked into the depths of the boundless ocean and seemed to see the half-handled great Luo sword embryo that was suppressed on the seabed. Although he has killed the Dark Immortal Emperor now, the threat of the great Luo sword embryo still exists. Although with the promise of the Lord of Heaven, the immeasurable calamity was postponed for tens of millions of years before it began. But after tens of millions of years, the great Luo sword embryo was born, and all the heavens and worlds would still fall into the boundless sea of blood and become a gathering of calamities. In Huang's estimation. But tens of millions of years later, When the great Lotus sword embryo is born, I am afraid that it will be the mysterious Hunyuan existence that descends on this moment of all heavens and worlds. By that time, if he cannot possess the combat power that can match that of Hunyuan, all heavens and realms will undoubtedly fall into true darkness and eternal silence, becoming the first to fall in this immeasurable calamity. All living beings, all living beings. Era murmured to himself. Now he is about to travel far away and leave this world of heavens and worlds, but he still has concerns about all sentient beings in all worlds and cannot rest assured. The darkness has not subsided, and after I leave, there may be changes in the heavens. If this is the case, then I will leave a backup plan to give future generations a little hope. Huang murmured to himself, and at the same time moved his gaze to the end of the Sea of 10,000 Realms. He once fought against the Dark Immortal Emperor and sealed off the dark place. He decided to leave his backhand in that dark place. It will be a sharp sword that hangs across the neck of the dark force, hanging high on the top of the world. When the right time comes, it will come down. All the darkness in the world will be wiped out, and the world will be clear again. Please subscribe.